have to make yourself a sympathetic character. Somebody has to be rooted for.
For decades, Charles Bronson was the ultimate symbol of cinematic toughness. The stone-faced vigilante whose quiet intensity made him one of Hollywood's most mysterious legends. But behind that rugged exterior was a man who lived a life shrouded in secrecy, pain, and love so intense it nearly consumed him. Fans thought they knew the real Bronson, the man from Death Wish, the lone hero who delivered justice his own way. But what his daughter has finally revealed after years of silence is something few could have imagined. For years, rumors swirled about Bronson's difficult personality, his strained relationships, and the private heartbreak that defined his final years. The media portrayed him as cold and distant, but his daughter's confession paints a very different picture. She's finally come forward to set the record straight, revealing the truth about the man behind the myth, his regrets, his hidden kindness, and the haunting reason he withdrew from Hollywood at the peak of his fame. According to her, the real Charles Bronson wasn't the stoic loner fans saw on screen. He was a deeply emotional father who struggled to balance fame with family, haunted by memories of love lost and a world that only ever saw his tough side. And now, as the truth finally emerges, what his daughter confirms will forever change how the world remembers one of Hollywood's most iconic tough guys. Because the man who seemed untouchable on screen was far more fragile and far more human than anyone ever knew. When people think of Charles Bronson, they picture the unflinching stare, the clenched jaw, and the quiet but deadly presence that made him the king of revenge films. From The Magnificent Seven to Death Wish, Bronson built a legacy on silence, strength, and justice. Yet behind that image was a man who rarely let anyone in, not even those closest to him. For decades, his family remained tight-lipped about his private life, but now, his daughter has opened up about the father she knew, a side of him the public never got to see. Charles Bronson was born Charles Dennis Bukinski in 1921, in the rough coal mining town of Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania. He was one of 15 children, raised in poverty, and worked in the mines as a teenager. The hardship of his early life carved the foundation of the man he would become, stoic, resilient, and tough beyond measure. According to his daughter, Bronson never forgot where he came from. Even after achieving international fame, he lived modestly and spoke little about his success. He wasn't interested in Hollywood parties or attention, she once said. He just wanted to work, come home, and be with his family. But fame has a way of changing everything, even for someone as grounded as Bronson. By the 1960s and 70s, he was one of the highest-paid actors in the world. His roles in The Dirty Dozen, Once Upon a Time in the West, and Death Wish turned him into a global icon of masculinity. Yet while his professional life soared, his personal life grew increasingly complicated. Bronson married 3 times, but his most famous and enduring relationship was with British actress Jill Ireland. Their love story was the stuff of Hollywood legend, passionate, intense, and often deeply emotional. When they met, Jill was married to Bronson's close friend, actor David McCallum. Bronson reportedly told McCallum, "I'm going to marry your wife." A few years later, he did exactly that. To outsiders, it might have seemed scandalous, but for Bronson and Ireland, it was fate. They were inseparable, both on and off the screen, starring together in more than a dozen films. But behind the glamour was a shared struggle, Jill Ireland's long and painful battle with breast cancer. Bronson's daughter recalled how her father changed completely during Jill's illness. He was no longer the tough guy. He was just a husband, desperate to save the woman he loved, she said. He took care of her every single day, even when it broke him inside. When Jill passed away in 1990, Bronson was devastated. He withdrew from Hollywood and rarely appeared in public again. Those who knew him said that he was never the same afterward. The spark that once drove him seemed to fade. He became quiet, withdrawn, almost ghost-like, his daughter admitted. Losing my mother destroyed him. During this time, Bronson spent most of his days on his secluded Malibu estate, surrounded by memories of Jill. He continued to raise their children but became increasingly private. Neighbors said they often saw him sitting outside, staring at the horizon for hours, lost in thought. According to his daughter, the pain of losing Jill changed him forever. He carried guilt, she revealed. He thought maybe if he had done more or noticed sooner, things could have been different. That kind of pain doesn't go away. Despite his sorrow, Bronson remained deeply protective of his family. He avoided interviews, shunned public appearances, and refused to let Hollywood define him anymore. His daughter remembers him as a man who spoke little but felt deeply. "He wasn't the cold man people thought he was," she said softly. "He was just someone who didn't know how to show emotion easily." What the world saw as stoicism, his family knew as quiet love, the kind of love that doesn't need words to be felt. And now, as his daughter finally shares the truth about her father's private world, the image of the untouchable tough guy begins to fade, revealing the gentle soul who spent his final years haunted by love, loss, and the memories he could never escape. After Jill Ireland's death, Charles Bronson's world collapsed in slow motion. The man who had once embodied unbreakable strength was now living in quiet isolation. His daughter described how the house that once echoed with laughter and the sounds of family dinners became almost entirely silent. "You could feel the emptiness," she said. "He tried to go on for us, but he was never the same." Bronson spent his days tending to his garden, painting, and watching old westerns. He found comfort in simplicity, avoiding fame, interviews, or Hollywood gatherings. For a man who had worked tirelessly for decades, stepping away from the spotlight was not just a choice. It was survival. His daughter revealed that he often spoke of wanting peace, saying, "I've played every kind of man there is to play. Now I just want to be myself." But even as he retreated from the public eye, fans never stopped wondering about him. Rumors circulated about his health, his fortune, and his reclusive lifestyle. Some claimed he had become cold and distant, but according to his daughter, that couldn't be further from the truth. "He loved being around family," she said. "He just didn't want attention from the outside world. He'd rather sit quietly with us, talk about simple things, or just watch the sunset." One of the few people who remained close to Bronson in his later years was his daughter, who visited him regularly and saw the depth of his loneliness. She said that her father spoke often about Jill, replaying their memories like a film in his mind. "He missed her every day," she recalled. "Sometimes I'd find him sitting alone, holding one of her photographs. He wouldn't say anything. He didn't have to." You could see the pain in his eyes. Still, there was a part of Charles Bronson that refused to let life break him completely. He found purpose in his children and his art. Few people knew that Bronson was a talented painter. His works, often inspired by his past and emotions, revealed a softer, almost poetic side of him. "He poured his soul into those paintings," his daughter said. It was his way of speaking without words. Even though he had accumulated immense wealth during his career, Bronson lived a humble life. He never flaunted his money or his fame. His daughter explained that he taught them to value hard work and humility above everything. Dad would always say, "Money doesn't make you better than anyone else. It just makes you more comfortable." But the years eventually caught up to him. As his health began to decline, Bronson's world became smaller. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, which slowly took away the sharp mind that had once defined him. His daughter revealed how heartbreaking it was to see her father, once so strong and commanding, become frail and confused. "He would forget names, faces, sometimes even where he was," she said. It was painful to watch the man who had been larger than life slowly fade away. Despite his illness, Bronson's family stood by him. His daughter described how they tried to make his final years peaceful, surrounding him with love and familiarity. They played his favorite old movies, kept Jill's memory alive, and spent time reminiscing about the good days. "Even when he couldn't speak much, you could tell he knew we were there," she said. "Sometimes he'd smile when we mentioned Mom's name." When Charles Bronson passed away in 2003 at the age of 81, his daughter said it felt like the end of an era. The world mourned the loss of a legend, but for his family it was the loss of a father who had loved them in his own quiet way. "People saw a tough man on screen," she said, "but we saw a father who loved deeply, even if he didn't always say it out loud. For years, the public wondered who the real Charles Bronson was. Now, through his daughter's voice, we're finally beginning to understand. He wasn't just Hollywood's toughest man. He was also its most misunderstood, an almost obsessive sense of privacy. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he shunned Hollywood parties, award shows, and public appearances outside of filming. He valued the moments at home with his family far more than fame or accolades. "Dad never wanted to be a celebrity in the way the world sees it," his daughter said. "He wanted to be a father, a husband, and a man who could look at himself in the mirror without regrets." Bronson's reclusiveness fueled countless rumors. Some claimed he was temperamental, others said he disliked interviews. But his daughter clarified that what people saw as anger was often simply caution, a way to protect his family and his peace. "He wasn't mean," she said. "He just didn't want strangers poking into our lives." To him, family came first, and everything else was secondary. One of the most fascinating revelations she made was about Bronson's emotional depth. Fans might remember him as the ultimate tough guy, but those closest to him saw a man capable of profound vulnerability. His daughter recounted evenings when he would share stories of his childhood, the struggles of his large family, and the life lessons he had learned in the coal mines of Pennsylvania. "He taught us resilience," she said, "but he also taught us empathy. He never wanted us to become hardened like the characters he played on screen." Bronson also had a complex relationship with fame. He loved acting but detested Hollywood's superficiality. While many actors of his era embraced the social scene and leveraged their celebrity, Bronson stayed focused on his craft. His daughter said he often told her, "I act for the story, not the applause. That's why I can't be anyone else but me." Even in his final years, he watched his old films with a critical eye, analyzing his performances and reflecting on what they had taught him about life, rather than celebrating box office numbers. Yet despite his distance from the public eye, Bronson had a deeply emotional side that only family witnessed. His daughter revealed that he would sometimes talk late into the night about Jill Ireland, the woman he loved more than life itself. "He never stopped loving her," she said. "Even when she was gone, he carried her memory everywhere." It wasn't just grief, it was devotion. She shared that Bronson often looked at her mother's photographs, holding them close and quietly remembering the years they spent together, the laughter, the struggles, and the profound connection that defined their lives. His final years were marked by a quiet dignity. Though his body weakened with age, his mind and spirit remained sharp, especially in moments of family life. Bronson's daughter recalled afternoons spent walking with him along the Malibu coastline, talking about everything from mundane daily life to philosophical thoughts about mortality. These small moments, far removed from the cameras and lights of Hollywood, revealed the man behind the legend, gentle, thoughtful, and deeply human. When Charles Bronson passed away in 2003, the world remembered the tough guy icon. But his daughter offered a different perspective, one that emphasized love, loyalty, and a quiet inner life that few ever glimpsed. "People will remember him for his roles," she said, "but I want them to remember him as a father who loved fiercely, as a husband who cared deeply, and as a man who, behind the tough exterior, had a heart that could break and heal in ways the world will never fully understand." Her revelations confirmed what many had suspected, but never truly known. The real Charles Bronson was not just a cinematic legend. He was a profoundly private man, a family man, and a soul whose depth went far beyond his on-screen persona. In the years following Charles Bronson's death, the mystique surrounding him only grew. Hollywood remembered him as the unflinching vigilante from Death Wish, the rugged anti-hero who stood alone against injustice. But his daughter's revelations have reshaped that narrative, showing the man behind the legend, the father, the husband, and the private individual whose life was shaped by love, loss, and an unwavering sense of integrity. Bronson's daughter confirmed that much of what fans assumed about him, that he was cold, distant, or unapproachable, was far from reality. "Dad was affectionate in his own way," she explained. He didn't say a lot, but he showed his love through his actions. Whether it was helping a family member, caring for Mom, or protecting us from the public eye, his love was constant. This insight challenges the decades-long perception of Bronson as merely a stoic, emotionally impenetrable figure. She also shed light on Bronson's relationship with his fame. Despite becoming one of the most recognizable actors of his era, he remained grounded and often frustrated by Hollywood's superficiality. He loved acting, but he hated the celebrity culture, she revealed. He didn't want the attention for himself. He wanted to tell stories. That's why he retreated after Mom passed. The glitz and glamour didn't mean anything without her. The daughter recounted moments that revealed Bronson's softer side, memories that contrast sharply with his on-screen persona. He would quietly sit with his family, listening intently, offering advice only when asked, or simply enjoying shared moments in silence. Even in illness, he retained this quiet strength. As Alzheimer's slowly took hold in his final years, his family ensured that he remained surrounded by love and familiarity, helping him preserve dignity and comfort. One of the most touching aspects she shared was Bronson's unwavering devotion to Jill Ireland. Their love story, passionate yet challenging, left a permanent imprint on him. He never remarried, choosing instead to honor her memory until his death. He carried her with him every day, his daughter said. She was his anchor, and losing her changed him forever. This enduring devotion adds a layer of humanity to a man often defined by toughness and silence. Bronson's daughter also confirmed what many long suspected. Despite his rugged exterior, he valued emotional connection over fame or fortune. While he amassed wealth and international recognition, he measured success differently, by the strength of his family bonds, the love he shared, and the legacy of integrity he left behind. Dad showed us that real strength isn't in fighting or money, she explained. It's in loyalty, love, and doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Her revelations offer a final, intimate glimpse into the life of a man whose public image was only one dimension of a much richer existence. Charles Bronson was not only a cinematic icon, but also a father who nurtured, a husband who loved deeply, and a human being whose private struggles and triumphs defined him as much as his roles did. By sharing these truths, his daughter has confirmed what fans suspected but never fully understood. The real Charles Bronson was complex, tender, and profoundly human. He was a man whose toughness masked vulnerability, whose fame never overshadowed family, and whose life, though often misunderstood, left an indelible mark not only on Hollywood, but on the hearts of those